Hey, Garrett Brill here. I had a few people ask if I would do a review or an overview of the Mavic 2 Enterprise. I usually don't do that kind of stuff. I like to point out specifics and all that kind of stuff. But I figured that there'll be several people that will be getting them in the next couple of days. And more than just a overview, I'll kind of give some tips and pointers that you can use. I've had a lot of repeat questions, and I'll try to touch on all those. This, just before I get started, this is a test unit, so it may be just a tad bit different than what you can get. It'll look the same, but for instance, I think they'll come in a nice case and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, but for the most part, it'll look just like this. I'll kind of go over it. The Mavic 2 Enterprise, this zoom has a lot very similar to the Mavic 2 Zoom. The zoom camera. Now it does have a little bit more zoom on it. I think the Mavic 2 Zoom has 1:5 and this one has 1:6, so it has a little bit more oomph to it. Anyway, other than that, there's a lot the same. The obvious difference is these attachments that you can do on the top, and of course these are the attachments over here. So you got the aircraft. You have the loudspeaker, and I'll say on the loudspeaker, when you hold this thing, it weighs almost nothing, and your first impression will be, if it's anything like me, it'll be like, okay, I'll just get out my cell phone, it'll be easily as loud as that. No, this thing puts out a lot of sound. In fact, one of the tests that we did with the Johnson County Sheriff's Department patrol vehicle, their Tahoe, and the PA system on it, and we had it a car length and a half behind, and we put this up by the windshield, something like you might use it, so kind of realistic scenarios. And this marginally, it was just a little bit, but this actually outperformed that vehicle mounted PA system. So I guess it was Wayland or whatever, but anyway, that tells you how loud this thing actually is. It's tremendous, and I think all of you will be shocked as well. These are the spotlights. I believe they're 2400 lumens. But lumens aren't just the only factor. I mean, that is a lot. That's very bright, and if you shine these in your eyes, you'll be seeing spots very badly or blinded for a while. But it's more than just the lumens, because I know there's some lights out there that are 5,000 lumens or whatever, but they're real shallow and they diffuse in 80 feet. These have a reflector or a cone in there that will make these really effective for about 300 feet up down. I didn't mean it's going to be bright as the sun from that high, but you can still find your car keys or something else in the grass at that altitude. So still very effective. They're very, very nice spotlight. I'm impressed. And of course, this is the anti-collision strobe that can mount up there as well. All right, a couple of questions that have come along. Number one was, these have self-heating batteries. Let's see if we can get in there. See, self-heating. This is the only identifier that you can really make of it. I recommend you put maybe a SH or maybe a E for Enterprise or something, some kind of additional sticker on there. If you're in public safety, having that coming up on the cold season, knowing which ones will self-heat and which ones won't, can make a difference on your operation. So if you have like the Mavic Zoom and you're getting this and adding this to your fleet, make sure you label them with some bigger label or something right here so you know. The way that you activate the heater is by, if it's cold enough, you'll hold this button down for 5 seconds, and it'll start kind of doing a 4-stage blinking of from dimmer to brighter until it's done. If it doesn't need heating, it just won't turn on. Good batteries, but again, make sure that you can identify them easily. The other thing people want to know is, can I swap these or interchangeable with these with the other Mavic 2s, the Pro and the Zoom? And the answer is yes. They're interchangeable both ways, so you can use their batteries on this unit and these batteries on those units. So, which is good news if you already have one of those. So, again, just make sure that you know which one is which for the cold weather. All right. One other question that came up with batteries, by the way, I've been asked several times, is, can you use the Mavic Pro, the original Generation 1 Mavic Pro charging hubs and stuff with these batteries? And the answer is no, you cannot. These have a different configuration. I mean, they look very similar, but the actual plug-in is different, and I'd imagine that the charging voltage and amps would be different because this is a bigger battery than the generation Mavics. So Mavic Pros. So anyway, that's that on the battery. On the aircraft, a whole lot like the Mavic 2 Zoom. Yeah, of course, it has the zoom camera up here, fully gimbaled, and you know, the motors and everything else. Everything looks very similar to the Mavic 2 Zoom. A couple comments. Of course, these things, by the way, you know, you'll have your SD card and your pairing for your controller there, and then a USB plug over here for doing all your firmware updates and stuff like that. Couple comments as we're looking at the sensors. Of course, this does have sensors like all the Mavic 2s do on all sides, top, bottom, front, back. But one thing that I really have grown to appreciate is these lights down here. So what they'll do is if you put them in auto and you're flying indoors or say in a dark area and you need these sensors to help you stay in kind of tight navigation, especially if you're flying in close quarters. And it gets a little dark. Anybody that ever tried to fly the Mavic indoors and they went to a dimly lit room knew that it kind of went into instant drift mode. Well, these will turn on and illuminate the ground so that this thing can continue to track stably in a dim room. So I know there's a lot of requests for that out there, and you know, we finally got it. So that's really nice. The other thing that I like about these is there is a navigation mode that you can put them in. And what they'll do is at nighttime, if you climb up, they'll turn on to help this thing stable. And then once it gets up to about 25 feet, they'll switch into a strobe mode, a blinking strobe mode to kind of help with anti-collision. I know it's on the bottom, but actually helps you keep an eye on the orientation of your aircraft and its location. So it is a bonus for night flights. All right. With that, I think we'll kind of go to one of the big main differences here, and that is this little top compartment. And this thing kind of pops off. So whenever you get one, be a little bit careful with this. I mean, I haven't been particularly careful with it whenever I was testing it. I got a little rough with it just to see if it was going to break, and it has not. But it is just a little bendable plastic cover, so kind of be careful with it. What we have underneath here is a micro USB connection port. One of the nice things about that, and I don't know if DJI will advertise this as such, but one of the nice things about it that I've done in some of my testing is hot swap. I mean, you can just land, turn off the motors. You don't have to turn off the aircraft, and switch from, say, spotlights to a loudspeaker, or from your anti-collision strobe. Maybe you're going to fly indoors and now you're going to turn on these, or whatever it might be. To mount these, it's just simple. There's two thumb screws and your USB. You literally just reach over here, kind of line it up, get it lined up, and then take and push down in the middle. It clicks on. Then you just take and quickly spin down your two thumb screws, and that's how it took me that long to mount that on there. Both the loudspeaker and the spotlights are pivotable, so you know, for the spotlights, if you need to look down on something, you can turn them down, or if you need to, say, look into something, say a vehicle or something, you can turn them up. Loudspeakers the same way, and it pivots down and then back up as well. All right, so that's that. One other difference that this does have, of course, is ADS-B. Now the ADS-B works almost just like the M210 or M200 series, and it just notifies you on the map, and it is a passive receiver. It does not transmit. So okay, I think with that, I'm going to go ahead and set this over here. It's pretty much all that I want to say about the hardware. Let me go ahead and turn that on. See if I can pull it back here a little bit. And then I've got the controller. The controllers are the same as the Mavic 2s. And I did try linking this to my Hasselblad Mavic 2, and it linked up just fine. So you can swap these along with the batteries. The controllers are interchangeable as well. we'll go ahead and power this on. Let's see if I can. All right. So along with this, we have the new Pilot app, and I believe they just now just released this so that if you have any kind of enterprise equipment, you want to go out and get the new Pilot app. In fact, this one has been updated to that released version. So anyway, we do have mission flights now, and this is kind of almost like a mini version of Ground Station Pro or something like that, and you can create waypoints and fly autonomously and stuff like that. So you know, hopefully this will grow with capabilities, but at least we have that now, and that's good news. We'll exit out of here. We'll go back here, and we're going to go into manual flight. One of the things that they did, by the way, is they moved some of the controls around, say like for flight hub, stuff like that is down here, and you know, there's your NFC unlocking instead of being in the app itself, and your flight records and stuff over there. So anyway, let's go into here. One of the first things you'll notice that's very nice is instead of just having the short list, you actually get the full list of the conditions, the internal conditions of the sensors and everything. A lot of us were asking for that, so that's nice. We have that. And the app is just kind of cleaned up and everything. But you'll notice that as far as this goes, everything right now is going to look, you know, there's your basic settings. Of course, you got your obstacle avoidance and stuff like that. Should probably have that on. Well, I'm inside. I'm going to leave it off. And then here's the auxiliary lighting I was telling you about. You can leave it in auto, on, or navigation light mode. I really appreciate that. I like that. There's your controller for turning off LEDs and your different buttons and stuff that you can do. Oh, you're familiar with that. Had these for a while. This has OcuSync 2, which is improved. And if you have the Mavic 2, you've seen that. There's the battery, the gimbal, and then there's your other settings and stuff. So, all right, kind of common stuff. Where it gets a little bit different is whenever you add one of these things on there. So I'll go ahead and throw on the spotlight first. All right, you'll see as soon as I put it on there, hopefully. Yep. All right, so I put that on there, and you can see a hot swap. I didn't power down the aircraft or anything, and now I can turn that spotlight on and off just by doing here. Now the controls for that spotlight, that's just the quick on and off. The controls for that spotlight are, let me see here. So you'll see we have a new icon right down here. It looks kind of like a cog in a circle with and then you have the brightness control, and you turn it on and off. Now one of the things that they do have is on the ground, when the aircraft is on the ground, they do constrain it to 50%. I believe that's for kind of eye strain and stuff, but I believe it's also for overheating. Those things will create heat, and without the air circulating from the propulsion, they might get a little bit hot. So they do keep it at 50% until once you leave the ground, then you can come over here and slide it to 100%. And if you land, just so you know, if you land, it automatically brings it down to 50%. So you will need to bring it up to 100% every time that you come down and land, say for a battery change or something like that. All right. So there's the spotlight. Now, if we wanted to change it over to, say, the speaker, so go ahead and put the speaker on. I love this thing. Okay, so I put the speaker on there. Again, aircraft's still running. All right, so now I've got my microphone that came up. Now there's a few things about the microphone. It's very intuitive the way they did it. But if you are going to, again, so you kind of have the same icon down here. And if you're going to record a message, these are messages I've recorded, and of course you can edit them and delete them and play them. I personally found I like the volume outdoors at about 80%. You can go higher, but it gets a little bit ratty, just a little bit. So I personally like it at about 80%. You may differ with me on that, but that's what I want. Now, if you were going to save, so there's two real modes on these things. You can either save the message to the aircraft, or you can just play it kind of real time. So let's say we were going to save a message to the aircraft. I'll show you that. So you're going to press the add audio, and then you'll press the tap to talk and test, right?
Tap to talk and test.
Okay, and then if I wanted to save that to the aircraft, I would just hit this. I'll just go ahead and upload it, why not? And then you'll see it actually transmits it to the aircraft. And now, whenever I go there, see it's named right here by the date, but it makes it available in my quick pick list. Okay, so this is kind of your maintenance mode, if you will. And then over here is going to be your kind of your real-time mode, what you would do. So over here, you can do an instant broadcast. And I'm going to turn this down because it will absolutely deafen my ears in this room. And so I'm just going to do so you have an instant broadcast and a play local. Instant broadcast goes something like this. So we're testing out the mic. Okay, so you press it, you say what you want, and as soon as you press it again, it instantly sends it over there and plays it. And then the other mode is you have this play local audio. So remember we recorded that one, it's right there. We can press play on it.
Test.
Okay, now if I wanted to repeat that, say for a search and rescue, or maybe you have a police situation or something like that, this little icon right here, you can tap that. Now if you play it,
tap to talk and test. Tap to talk.
And they'll just keep on repeating it over and over and over.
Tap to talk and test.
Right, they'll just keep on repeating it. So, and that's pretty much it for the speaker. And again, there's the volume. So very nice. Makes it easy to use, and it's very effective. Again, the sound that comes out of that little speaker just kind of blows me away. All right. Now we'll go to the last attachment, and this is the anti-collision strobe. And of course, there it is. And with this one, it's just a simple on-off, and it is bright. I don't know if you can see that or not. It's extremely bright, blinding bright. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn it off. And anyway, so that's it for the attachments. Again, nice and simple. The zoom on this, you use the right wheel to zoom in. One other thing I'll point out is that you can pan left and right by holding your finger on here, and the gimbal will move left and right. It'll kind of follow it around. If I want to zoom in over there, all I gotta do is roll this wheel right here, and I can zoom on in. Now there's nothing really exciting to see there. See if we can maybe zoom in on this chair. There you go. That kind of gives you an idea of the zoom that it has. All right. Other than that, most of your controls on here, and the display is very similar and standard to the MAVIC twos. One of the questions I had that I think might interest a few other people out there is a couple of people actually wanted to know, do you have the autonomous flight features? You know, some of the say point of interest and some of the other stuff that you have over there. The answer is yes and no. Obviously, in the Pilot app, there's nothing there, but you can fly this in the Go 4 app as well. But what you don't get in the Go 4 is any of your attachments. So, you know, you can have kind of both ways. You can fly this as a Mavic 2 Zoom without the attachments in the Go 4 app, or you can come over into the Pilot app and fly it in there with the attachment. So you kind of have the best of both worlds here, unless of course you need both the attachments and to fly one of those modes, those advanced modes, autonomous type modes. So what about this? So I've kind of showed you everything about it. What do I like about it? I like pretty much everything about it. This thing flies really good. I think it'll even get better as they start getting some additional feedback. But it's one of the most stable DJI aircraft I've ever flown. The flight controller, you can tell, is finely tuned. And of course, I love all the attachments. This loudspeaker is something long overdue. And you know, it's I think especially for the price and everything else, I think this is going to be a pretty big deal. I think it offers some good solutions that we don't even have anywhere else. So I like pretty much everything about it, but is there anything about it that I don't particularly like? You know, it's probably the biggest deal, I would say, in my opinion, is that this is pretty much a fair weather aircraft. I would not recommend flying this thing in any kind of adverse weather at all. You know, and for anybody that knows me or has been around me, I've flown the Inspire 1s. Of course, the M210s and everything are made for it, but I've flown the Inspire 1 in the rain. I'll fly a Phantom 4 Pro in some light rain, but this one has a whole lot of intake. You know, these intake ports here and in the front, and there's really just not any covers for them, and then the battery hole and stuff like that. It's a bad idea to fly this thing in the rain, and so I'd highly recommend against it. That's probably the one thing that I wish that it had was, you know, it's an enterprise product. I kind of wish that it had some better weather capabilities. And then probably the other one is in my opinion, the anti-collision strobe should have been integrated into the fuselage, maybe right here, or I don't know, back here or something, anywhere. You know, probably right here would be the best spot. And the reason for that is that, you know, if you're flying with that, you're probably flying at night. But now I'm limited to a choice. I either have to fly with that anti-collision strobe or these spotlights. So, you know, the good news is there is third-party anti-collision strobe still available. You know, I'll probably use the same one that I had on my Mavic, my first generation Mavic Pro. I'll just use it on this one. But you know, for it is a very good anti-collision strobe, and you can definitely see it from 3 statute miles away. But again, I don't want to have to choose between the two. I like to use them both. So that's probably the only thing, probably the only two things that I can. Everything else is just small and petty little stuff, and I think we'll see all that stuff really improve. So great aircraft. Highly recommend it for public safety. It does fly indoors substantially better than your Mavic. It flies better indoors than your Mavic Air and your Mavic Pros. So, but I'm thinking that they can probably even get it better than what it does now. But hopefully we can work with them and get them to do some of their magic that they're known for. So anyway, hope this overview helped. This isn't my thing that I usually do. I usually point out the capabilities and let you decide for yourself. These things seem a little too opinionated for me, but hopefully you kind of get an idea of how to use this thing. And for all of you that are getting one, congratulations. I look forward to hearing about some of your success stories. So I'll talk to you later. Bye.